Let's begin by looking, by way of background, at the book of Daniel, chapter 9, something that most of you are, of course, familiar with. Verse 24, 70 weeks of years, not 77-day weeks, but 77s, it says in the original language, have been decreed for your people and your holy city, that is Jerusalem, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sin, to make atonement for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy place. So you are to know and discern that from the issuing of a decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there will be 7 weeks, that is 7 sevens, and 62 sevens. It will be built again with plaza moat in times of distress. Then after 62 weeks, that is of 7 years, the Messiah will be cut off and have nothing. And the people of the prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. Its end will come with the flood. Even to the end, there will be war and desolations are determined. And he will make a firm covenant with many for 1 week. That is one set of 7 years. But in the middle of the week, he will put a stop to sacrifice and grain offering. On the wing of abomination will come one who makes desolate. And until a complete destruction, one that is decreed is poured out on the one who makes desolate. Now notice in verse 24, it's to make an end to sin. Make an end to sin and usher in everlasting righteousness. But it also talks about the Messiah coming and dying. Again, in the Old Testament, this was a veiled concept. They did not understand one Messiah, 2 comings. These prophecies of Daniel 9 would be partially fulfilled at the time of the first coming of Jesus and be totally fulfilled with his second coming. People have gone to all kinds of extents to try to say it was fully fulfilled at the time of the Maccabees with Antiochus, or that it was fully fulfilled in 70 AD. Well, it was partially fulfilled at those times. Fulfilled because sin was not put in, an end was not put to sin, and everlasting righteousness was not established. It has a future meaning. Partial fulfillments with the Maccabees, partial fulfillment in 70 AD. And we're not going to touch on it or elaborate on it at all now, but a partial fulfillment in the 2nd century with Bar Kokhba. But its ultimate climactic fulfillment will be at the close of the age, at the close of the age. People have taken this from Daniel and not interpreted Matthew 24 in light of it, nor interpreted Daniel 9 in light of Matthew 24 and Luke 21 and Mark 13. In other words, they've tried to ignore the fact that Daniel breaks it up. It's going to be about his first coming, but it's also going to be about his second. Some people, particularly the people caught up in post-millennialism and dominion theology, have propagated the nonsense that it all happened in 70 AD and there's no future meaning. This is completely, utterly ridiculous. It is absurdly ridiculous, but it is taught by those people. Many people in the New Apostolic Reformation, among others, subscribe to it. The Restoration movement in England in the 1980s was built upon it. It is a complete and utter nonsense. It could not possibly be true. Jesus made it clear that the tribulation that'll happen at the close of the age will be so terrible, nothing that terrible had ever happened before, nor will happen again. Well, the fact of the matter is, things worse than 70 AD happened both to the Jews and to the church since 70 AD. The persecutions under the Roman emperors, among other things, and of course the events of Bar Kokhba's rebellion, all the way to the Holocaust of the 1930s and 40s, Worse things have happened both to Israel and to the church since 70 AD. It could only be a partial fulfillment. What they say is simply, not only is it not consistent with what the text says, it's illogical.